Well, welcome back. Now, the setup of this particular lesson will be a little bit different than some of the others. As you notice, I usually like to write on these, but I went out shopping for some office supplies, and my mother got very excited by these new Sharpies I bought and decided that she'd go ahead and write and test out both the Sharpies and the pens. So my handwriting, as you know, is nowhere near this beautiful. So the theme of today's lesson is reasoning with ethical principles. And we'll identify these 14 ethical principles that you see listed here. And I'll explain them. But you have to remember, it's so easy for someone to say, hey, that behavior is unethical. Well, unethical according to who? How is it unethical? According to which ethical principles is it unethical? Well, it might be ethical according to the categorical imperative, but it might be unethical according to the ends means ethic. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of work through and negotiate these sorts of things. So without further ado, what I will go through the lecture, each of the principles, and I'll give you some examples kind of from personal experience to help you relate to the examples a little bit better, or relate to the ethical principles a little bit better, excuse me. So the first one, the categorical imperative. Now this comes from Immanuel Kant. And it's not too surprising if those of you are familiar with Immanuel Kant. He was kind of an unusual man in his personal life. He came from a place called Königsberg. That is actually, it used to be part of East Prussia, but now it's part of Russia. If you ever look on a map and you see that kind of nestled in Poland, there's this little enclave that belongs to Russia, that's where Königsberg is. Now the Russian name for it today is Kaliningrad. But when it was Königsberg, that's where Immanuel Kant went. And supposedly he took a walk on the beach at the same time every day, took the exact same route, and even the exact same number of steps. Okay? So having given you that background on Immanuel Kant, we look at the categorical imperative. And basically, the categorical imperative says, act only according to that maxim by which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Now, what in the world does that mean? It basically means some things are always right, and some things are always wrong. Okay? No exceptions. And that's one of the criticisms of his doctrine. The fact is that there are no exceptions ever. Okay? So let me give kind of a broad example, and then let me give maybe a practical example from the workplace. Okay? When I was a kid, my grandma visited me one summer for about 7 weeks, I believe. And, I was a kid, maybe 6 or 7 years old, I can't remember. Must have been 7. And, I was a bad boy. I might still be, but that's another story. And I kind of got caught fibbing to my mom about a variety of things. Maybe you got in trouble at school and you didn't tell your mom about it, that kind of thing. And so my mom would say, you lied. And I would say, well, no, I didn't, Mom. I didn't lie. I was just joking. And then she said, well, joking is lying. And then I'd do some other things, and my mom said, you lied. I said, no, I didn't. I was just teasing. And then my mom would say, well, joking is teasing. Teasing is lying. Okay, so there's no room for humor in our house. And so, we went out to dinner one night, Mom, Dad, Grandma, and I went out for ice cream. And you remember, there's a lot of these ice cream places, they give you like the little pink spoons for the samples. And, everyone was in a good mood after dinner. I'd had my ice cream, and Grandma and I were sitting in the back, and Grandma looks at me, and she says, that's a big spoon. And I said, Mom, Grandma lied. And my mom said, well, no, honey, she didn't lie. She was just teasing. And I said, no, Mom, joking is teasing, and teasing is lying. Ha-ha, Grandma was busted, I said to myself. And everyone was really quiet the rest of the car ride home. But that's a good example of the categorical imperative. Now, of course, you can apply this to some things in the workplace, right? Let's say, for example, someone doesn't have money for copies or printouts, right? And so maybe they print off their their personal tax forms at the office or something like that. I mean, it's maybe violating company policy, but is it really that much of a wrong? Or, what if you don't show up to work on time because your daughter is sick? Okay, well, technically you violated company policy, but, couldn't the child be more important than showing up to work on time? So these are kind of some of the problems that we have with the categorical imperative. Okay, so it's dogmatic and inflexible. Some things are always right, some things are always wrong, but then what about those gray areas? Okay, I didn't show up to work on time because I had to take my kid to the hospital. Grandma just told the joke because, you know, the spoon was small. You know, so it's not perfect. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this video here so I can go down there and turn the light back on, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay.